So today I want to talk about the reality tax of online business. We're going to get into it today. Again, I'm Cam from epicconversions.com. And we're going to be talking about reality tax. What is that? What am I talking about? So for me, this is what I'm talking about is logistics. Okay. I'm essentially talking about logistics. I'll give you, I wrote this down. This is a definition for logistics, but I want to give you some context for what I mean, because I think that this is really going to like what I'm going to share with you today, I think is really going to help you. The problem is what I want to share with you today kind of runs through the dark alley of boredom. Okay. Like many things I talk about, it might be a little boring, right? Maybe not the most exciting video you watched today. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I can only tell you what works for me. You know, that's my promise to you. When I get on here to do one of these live streams, I can only tell you what has worked for me over the last 15 years or so. Some of it might sound boring. You know, what can I tell you? I'm going to give you a definition for logistics. I printed this out, and then I'm going to explain it in context for me as it applies to my business, and then we're going to circle this around to how it makes sense for you. So, okay, so definition, all right? In business, logistics is the strategic management, and I want you to see what I'm reading. I have this little definition up here, and I wrote myself a few bullet points right here for what I wanted to talk about. So if you're wondering, like, where is Cam getting all this information? Like, I got a couple bullet points here, but I'm mostly just speaking from my experience. Okay, so when you hear me talking, I'm just telling you what I know. Okay. So, anyways, definition in business logistics is strategic management, planning, and coordination of the movement, storage, and flow of goods, services, and information from the origin to consumption. Right? That applies to all businesses, not just physical businesses, not just brick and mortar businesses. It applies to all businesses. Okay, so that's the definition of logistics. Okay, so for me, let me give you some context. A lot of times I will get people over the last 15 years. I've been online doing business since 2011. I started Epic Conversions in 2016. So I had 5 years of online business under my belt, you know, selling used books, running membership clubs, doing digital KDP, Amazon KDP ebooks, doing YouTube under my belt before I even started Epic Conversions. So I have 5 years under my belt. So about 10 years ago, I started Epic Conversions. And so over the last 15 years, I've had a lot of people come to me saying, man, I got this good idea, man. What do you think about this? Or they'll come to me and they'll say, hey, dude, I got this good idea we can do together. Right. That's another one. That's another one, man. And like when people say to me, man, I got this good idea. What do you think about this? Like, I might give them like half speed logistic questions, okay? You know, because what I have learned over the years is that my logistics questions like sucks the fun out of things for people. Like it literally sucks the fun out of, like, I feel like I am the, like, I don't know, like the rain cloud on their idea or something. It makes me feel bad. I'll be honest. It makes me feel bad. But, like, I'm a lot more ruthless about those questions when people want to ask me what I think about an idea that we could do together. Like, what do you think about me and you doing this, right? And I'm like, huh, okay. Well, all right. Well, what about this? And what about that? What have you thought about this or the other thing? How would this get handled? How would that like all these like logistical questions I start asking them about, right? And I see it. It's like it slowly sucks the fun out of it for them. And more than once, I have asked simple logistic questions, you know, and like it kind of turns into a situation where I'm asking questions and it's almost like I'm beating them down verbally with questions. And like it's like an interrogation now. And like they don't even want to do it anymore, right? They don't even want to do it anymore. Like I've totally like burst their bubble, you know, and it makes me feel really bad. Um, but that's just like how I do things. Like it doesn't like when I want to start a new business or when I want to start a new project, that's just the way I approach it, right? And I'll give you an idea. I'll give you an idea of what I mean. Like, let's say I wanted to start a podcast, okay? Like this live stream right here that you're watching, it's kind of a podcast. Like it's a video podcast, but it's distributed to Spotify. You know, it's distributed via audio. It's distributed to Facebook. It's distributed to YouTube. It's distributed to YouTube Music. So it's meant to be a podcast, even though it's video. Now, when I started this, called Cam from Epic Conversions. That's the name of this podcast, Cam from Epic Conversions. And when I started this, um, I ask myself, like, what is this going to be? Like, what exactly is it? Like, is what's the theme? Okay, I'm gonna talk about like online business stuff. Okay, well, cool. Well, let's get further into that. Like, what do you mean? Like, through what lens? Okay, well, I'm gonna tell stories. I'm gonna tell stories about my experience with online business, and I'm gonna call the podcast Cam from Epic Conversions. Okay, but for me to get to that, I had to ask that question. What is this going to be? All right. And then next question. How often am I going to do it? How often am I going to do this podcast? Like, I'm going to do it daily, Monday through Friday, and I'm going to take the weekends off. Why? Because I've been here for 15 years and I know a lot of crap and I can come up with something to talk about every single day as it pertains to my market because I understand my market. So it's not a big deal for me to tell stories every single day about this stuff. I can do it. Like I have the depth of knowledge and the depth of experience to do that. Um, and then so that becomes another question. Why? Why are you doing this? What is the purpose of this podcast? The purpose of this podcast, Cam from Epic Conversions, the purpose of this podcast is to create differentiation for me, right? And what am I using to create differentiation? One, I'm using my depth of knowledge and experience. Like my experience in this niche is like it's an advantage for me. I've been here for a while, so you know, in a world where a lot of people are creating content, I have to take advantage of things that differentiate me. One thing that differentiates me is a lot of my experience and how long I've been here. Um, Another thing that I want to take advantage of is this live stream format. Okay, because I was saying this in a mastermind. I'm in that U World Order Jill Hart's group that she has on school. She does a mastermind every Monday, and I joined those guys yesterday, and I was telling them that their ability to be on camera on these masterminds is a great advantage for them because it creates differentiation. Like, you know, a lot of people are creating content out there. A lot of people are, you know, utilizing AI to create a lot of content, written content, audio content, even video content. But one thing they can't really do very well with AI is live streams like the one I'm doing right here with you, right? So, if you're an actual person, like this is a good advantage for you. And the thing about it is, you have to understand that the people who want to consume content, those people haven't really changed that much. They still want to consume content by other people. They didn't decide, they didn't wake up one day and decide that they liked AI content better than human content. They just woke up one day and found a bunch of AI content dumped on them, right? So in that way, like I felt like the live stream format was a good way to differentiate for me and for this Cam from Epic Conversions podcast. So that is part of the why when it comes to this podcast. And then the other part, of course, always Toma, right? Top of mind awareness in my niche. And also, of course, lead acquisition. Of course, I'm looking for lead acquisition. I'm always looking for lead acquisition. I'm always looking to build my sphere of influence. Okay. So these are some of the reasons why, because I always want to be injecting free content into the marketplace. So these are some of the reasons why, but it goes deeper, right? It's like, okay, well, those are some good answers to those questions. But, like, how does this look? Like, you're gonna be publishing it daily, you're gonna be doing a live stream show, like, where are you gonna publish it at? Like, where's this gonna be happening at? And I say, "Well, look, I'm gonna do the live stream on Substack because that's my main point of trying to grow with free content right now. I'm working on Substack. I like the way they handle their API system, and that's why I'm working there. Um, but I'm also going to syndicate these live streams. I'm going to syndicate the video versions of them on Facebook and on YouTube as well. Also going to publish the audio version on Spotify, right? So I kind of figure out what is that? What is that? That's distribution, right? We're talking about the distribution plan. Well, how does it tie in to like your existing audience? Like are you going to let them know about it? Um what's the plan for that? Okay, here's what I'm going to do. Like maybe once a month or maybe once every couple weeks, I'm going to send an email out talking about, the last couple weeks worth of, episodes that I've done, and I will put maybe a link to my Substack, right? Or I'll put a link to my YouTube, or maybe I'll alternate between the two, right? Maybe what I'll do is I will create a PDF, right, for my existing list, and that PDF will have like a cover on it, and it'll be like the last 20 episodes of Cam from Epic Conversions. Check it out, and it'll be like a downloadable PDF, but they can click on each episode in that PDF, and I'll give it as a free gift to my list, right? So this will be like a way to create goodwill, to build more rapport with my list, and also, promote my podcast, right? So that's what the way I might handle it with my existing list, my existing audience there. Um, and the questions keep going, right? And these are questions I ask. These are questions I ask like before I ever even start a podcast or before I start a project of any kind. I will ask questions like that, and it'll get deep. I'll go deep into the questions. Sometimes too deep. Sometimes I'll go too deep into it. I'm not gonna sit here and say I won't. I will go deep. But it's not like because I am trying to get like some kind of paralysis by analysis. It's just because like, the way I see it, um, I see a project, and I see a business this way, right? I'll see a business like an exploding diagram, right? And you see all the parts. You ever see like an engineer's like blueprint? You'll have like you ever see like an instruction manual to put something together, like a piece of furniture or a bed or something? You ever see like an IKEA manual to you're trying to put something together and it's got like all the pieces of the thing kind of like exploded apart, but you can still kind of see how everything would go together and all the parts are labeled and stuff. Like, that's how I like to look at my business, right? I see it as an exploding diagram with all the parts labeled and how they all fit together. That's how I see it. Um, and like for me, like when I have a new project, I look at that the same way. Okay, well, here's my new podcast. How does this fit into the business of Epic Conversions? How does it fit? And also, like, if I was going to take this one specific little piece of Epic Conversions, this podcast, can I put that on exploding diagram and see how that works? Because I don't want it to fail. Like, I want people to see it. It has a goal. The podcast has a goal. How do I achieve the goals of the podcast, right? So I have all these like questions I want to get answered for myself, And what happens is like whether it's a project within your business or whether it's a business itself, you either have all the parts laid out on your exploding diagram or you have questions on the parts that you don't have answers to, right? Like um, I told you that like, I went through a couple of them with you. Okay, well, you're gonna do live streams. Okay, that's cool. Well, where are you gonna do the live streams at, right? What if I didn't have an answer? Now you see I'm live streaming on Substack, but what if I didn't have an answer? Like what I would do in that situation is I would put a question in there. Where am I going to do the live streams? Question mark. Then I'd move on with the rest of my exploding diagram for that project. I'd have it all laid out like here are the parts to it. Here's where the traffic's coming from. Here's what I'm going to do. Well, how long are they gonna be? How long are your episodes going to be? I'm gonna freewheel it, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna worry about the length. In the case of Cam from Epic Conversions here, I told myself, "You know what? It's kinda, like, meant to be like a 10 to 20-minute live stream, but it's really I'm not gonna worry about it too much. I'm just gonna talk. I'm just gonna tell stories around this one particular subject, then I'm not gonna worry about the length on it. It's not about the length. Maybe I'll jump on and I'll talk, like, for 10 minutes about something, and I'll jump off. Maybe I'll jump on and I'll talk for, like, an hour about something, just based on the story I have to tell, and, if people are asking me questions or, if I just wanna talk about it for a while. It just so I didn't set myself like an episode, like, limit for Cam from Epic Conversions, like what the length was gonna be, but a lot of times I do. When I do these shows, a lot of times I will. They'll be like, "Okay, this is designed to be a 20-minute show," or "This is designed to be a 10-minute show," or whatever. "This is designed to be a one-hour show. It's got, like, 3 different parts. It's got, like, 3 segments that I do, boom, boom, boom." Um, I did this one show, it was called Index Card Insights, it was a podcast, and Index Card Insights was very, very, like, structured in the way that, like, every single show was like, I would give you and by the way, you can find this on my YouTube channel. If you go to my YouTube channel, if you go to Zero Fats Returns, it's on YouTube, ZeroFatz, Returns, Zero Fats Returns. Go to Zero Fats Returns, you will find in one of my playlists, it will be called Index Card Insights. Now, the way I did that show was, I had, like, a point that I wanted to make, and it was like, "Okay, here's my main point. I wanna tell a story around that point, and I wanna pull 3 lessons, 3 major points out of that story," okay? And that was called Index Card Insights, and then, like, the way I did it was I had an index card. I had a set of index cards. I would have, like, the title card, okay? And the title card would be, like, the name of the episode, right? And then I would have 3 points. Here's the first point, right? Here's the second point. Here's the third point. And I would have, like, 3 points, and you can go watch those episodes. I did, like, 100 I think, like, 100 and something episodes of Index Card Insights. But the point is, there was a theme to it, and what I'm trying to say is all that stuff got decided beforehand, right? It was all logistics. It was like, how's this gonna go? You know, when are you gonna do the episodes? Like with Cam from Epic Conversions here, um, like in my mind, like the way I designed this show was to do them in the morning when I first, it was like one of the first things I would do in the morning when I started working on my business. But it hasn't really turned out that way. What's happened is I've just been kind of doing these in the afternoon, when I've had time, and it's been kind of like good because I've had a day, to work on things. So what I've kind of like figured out was I actually have, things that come to my mind after working all day that weren't really on my mind beforehand. Um, so sometimes that fits into these talks. Like for example, like today we're talking about logistics. Well, that wasn't what I had scheduled to talk to you guys about today. Um, I actually had the whole week, Monday through Friday of these episodes, planned what I was going to talk about. But because of the work I did today, this idea of logistics was, forefront in my mind. And I was like, I want to talk to people about logistics today. So things change. And I've kind of like really kind of like embraced this idea of doing them in the afternoon. I think it kind of works better for me. So even though I originally planned for it to be in the morning, now it's in the afternoon. So things change. So even though like I ask these questions and they're logistical and I have it all laid out, sometimes they change. Battle plans change. You know what I mean? It's not like you you put your plans in place and they don't change. Of course they change. If nothing ever changes, then I would be like extremely surprised. Things always change. But I just find it interesting. Anyways, these questions that you ask yourself, I kind of consider it a litmus test too. Like you have an idea, you're excited about it. Like I've been working on this project. I don't want to talk too much about it because, I mean, man, this the world that we inhabit here and online business is full of opportunists. Okay. I don't want to go so far as to say sharks. Okay. But it's full of opportunists. I don't want to say too much about it. But I will say it has to do with the public domain. And I've been kind of, working that out. And there's a lot of questions that I ask about the project before I'm going to bother to waste my time getting started with it. And that's what I'm basically telling you guys. It could be a litmus test. You have a good idea for a business and you start asking questions around it. Like, well, how would I do this? What would this be? Like, how would this make money? Like in the example of this podcast right here, Cam from Epic Conversions, how would this make money? Okay, well, it's easy to answer that question because it has to do with the goal of Cam from Epic Conversions. It's not designed to make money. It's designed to create Toma for my business, and it's designed to put people on my list. So it's not really designed to make money. I mean, it's kind of like an indirect, you know, indirectly it can make money, but like that's not its primary purpose is to make money. Now, can I take an episode of Cam from Epic Conversions and kind of like make it a direct path to money? Like, sure, I could do that, but like it's going to revert back to its normal thing too. Like, ideally, it wasn't really designed as a direct path to money. It was designed as a direct path to lead acquisition and a direct path to differentiation in a world of AI content. That's what this is. So anyways, like I guess what I'm saying is it can be a litmus test for you. When you take your good ideas that you have, your really cool ideas, and you start asking yourself questions like, well, okay, is there a lot of competition for this out there? Like if you can't answer that question, then you got to go do some research, right? What's the competition like around this? Has anyone else already done this? Like you have a good idea, has anyone else already done it? They have? Are they doing it right now? When was the last time someone did it? Oh, well, someone tried to do it 10 years ago and like it flopped because of this, this, and this. Okay, well, we don't want that to happen. How's ours different? Like just stuff like this. So it acts as kind of like this litmus test to help you succeed. It's basically this is like you know, damage control, you could say. It's kind of like a pressure tester. Um, but yeah, exploding diagram, all businesses and projects get put under an exploding diagram in my viewpoint. And, if I don't have an answer for every part of the business that you need, like if you have a business, think about it, man. If you have a business that you want to start, what do you need? You need a good idea. You need a minimum viable product and you need an audience of people you're going to sell it to, right? You need those things. So, you start asking questions. Who am I selling this to? Oh, okay. Well, where do those people hang out? Where could I advertise to get them in front of my thing? You know? Do they like my thing? Well, like maybe I should figure out who this audience is before I even create my thing? Maybe I should just like figure them out a little bit better before I start, investing money into this thing. Stuff like that. It's pressure testing, right? It's the litmus test or whatever. So yeah, I ask a lot of questions and sometimes that frustrates people. Like I'm like a giant like rain cloud sucking all the fun out of their ideas. They feel like I don't mean it to be that way, but that's how I do it, man. That's how I do it. And that's never really, failed me, in 15 years. Like it's always been, something that served me well. I mean, I'm not gonna say I don't shoot from the hip sometimes, okay, you guys. If I really like something, I'll shoot from the hip a little bit. But like a lot of times I just like you know what I think it is, man? I think it's because okay, here's the deal. Like when I lost my job in 2010, okay, it was like August 2010 when I lost my job. And I didn't know what I was gonna do, man. I had a choice to either go back to find another job and or go back to school. It's like, well, I had some money in the bank saved up. Let me try to go back to school, and I went back to school for business. But I was just like, um, I was just kind of shocked, when I lost my job. I just couldn't believe it, man. All the sick time, built up, and it didn't make any sense to me. How could I like just a few years ago, my boss is telling me like she wish she had 10 just like me, and then a few years later, I got all the sick time built up, and I have to call in sick several times because I'm actually having problems, and boom, I get fired just like that. And like I realized it didn't really matter, about the sick time. None of that really matters. It's like kind of an illusion about sick time. It doesn't matter how much sick time you got built up. Like they need someone to be there, and if that can't be you, then they're gonna try to replace you with somebody else. So, anyways, that's kind of like a side quest. But the point is, um, what I'm trying to get at is when that happened, I already had a family. Okay, when I lost my job in 2010, I already had a wife. I already had 2 kids. Okay, so when I went back to school, and I went back to school for business, like everything was being done under this pressure of I still have to be, responsible for my family. Like I still have to be here for my family. I'm the one who's providing. Like I have to make sure everything's okay. So every single thing that I've done in business since then, I've always done it under this kind of like, okay, well, what's the plan B if that doesn't work out? Okay, well, what's the other plan if that doesn't work? It's always been under that kind of like lens for me. I've always felt that way. I've always felt like this kind of responsibility to make sure that I'm bringing money in, and so like every single like decision that I've made in business has always had to be like really, really like kind of thought out a little bit. And it's not that you don't take risks. I take risks. I mean, you take risks in business. That's just the way it is. But I do think, like for me, it's been about minimizing risk, right? How can I minimize risk? I don't want to be risk averse. I mean, I know you have to take risks, but like I also want like a backup plan because not everything works out. Like, so I want like, okay, well, what happens if this doesn't work? Well, what happens if that doesn't work? Well, what's the plan for this? What's the plan for that? Like, I've always been like that, and I think it's because I'm like that, like, a lot of things tend to work out for me okay. I don't get surprised a lot, but that's because I ask a lot of questions, and I try to make sure I know what's happening. It doesn't mean things always work out for me. I mean, you gotta take risks in business, and sometimes they don't go your way, man. But if everything you do it under the understanding that this might not go my way, then, you know, the nickname I gave myself was Mr. Backup Plan. So that's how I look at it. But I've always kind of thought about it like that. And it does suck the life out of people's like cool ideas and stuff. But for me it's just logical. It's logical. Okay, you want to start like a grocery store down the road. Okay, well, how do you get capital for that grocery store? Do you got money in the bank to get it started? Like how's the traffic in that area? Is there traffic? Like, do people go there? I mean, are they used to a grocery store being there? Where are you going to get your food from? Like, where does that happen? How does the logistics work on that? What happens when Walmart says they're going to like price match everything you do? Because they will. I've seen them do it. Like Walmart came into this town. I live in a town of 60,000 people. Okay, 60,000 people, and Walmart moved into here and they did not just move in here with one, but two super centers. Okay. Two Walmart super centers for a 60,000 person town. They came in here with two Walmart super centers and they said, we will price match anybody in this city on anything we sell. Right. I mean, they immediately started trying to dominate the market. Right. And it worked, right? A lot of people that used to be open 24 hours a day, they changed their hours to only being open like normal hours. A lot of businesses went out of business because of it. Um, a company who they compete with directly, Meyer, did not go out of business. Myers, brilliant strategist at Myers, man. They are so good at strategizing. Meyer, they just that's a story for another day. The whole Meyer thing, that's a whole nother story. They're amazing strategists, though, put it that way. But the point is, um, if you're going to start a business or if you're going to start a project for your business, ask questions. Okay. That's what I'm saying. Ask questions. Ask questions. Figure out the logistics. And if you don't know the answer to the logistics, if you got a question mark here and a question mark there, that's a sign that, you need to figure it out. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. But you need a plan. You need to plan for that part of it. Okay. And then, that with the understanding that that is going to change as you go, probably there's a good chance it's going to change, especially if you don't have any experience doing what you're doing. There's a very good chance it's going to change as new things come to light. Right. Um, and then, like if you start like thinking about these ideas that I'm talking about and you don't like any of it, and it's like I'm sucking the fun out of your idea or whatever, if that's how you feel, maybe there's a chance, just a chance, that, maybe this is not a good idea for you, because there is a difference between like having a fun, like cool idea that's like kind of a fantasy, it exists in your head, and then like the reality tax that is what I'm talking about. The reality tax, because there's a difference between how something looks like in your brain and like how it looks in real life. And if like you can't even handle taking it from your brain to putting it on paper, right? Because we're talking about like what I'm talking about here is logistics. I'm talking about taking out a piece of paper and writing it all down. Like, what does it look like in an exploding diagram? How does all the pieces fit together? Okay. That's what I'm talking about. And you've heard people say, hey, man, there's a difference between what something looks like on paper and what something looks like in reality. Okay. And that is absolutely 100% true. There is a difference between how it looks on paper and how it looks in real life. But think about it. If you can't take your fantasy idea in your mind and put it on paper and handle all the logistics on paper without getting frustrated and without feeling like you're sucking the fun out of the whole thing, I mean, what do you think is going to happen when you try to take it to reality? Right? That's what I think. So it's like the reality tax, man. So like personally, that never sucks the fun out of anything for me. It actually gives me more confidence if I have an idea that I think is cool and I start trying to write it down on paper and figure out how it's going to work. How does it work? How does it go? How do I get this? How do I get that? How's this going to make sense? How's that going to make sense? Has anyone done this before? Am I going to have a lot of competition? What are other people doing for advertising for this situation right here? Am I walking into a hornet's nest here? You know what I mean? Who am I competing with? Is it going to be like some kind of big nightmare? Um, are there legal issues I need to deal with? Especially if we're talking about the public domain. I was talking to you guys about the public domain project. You got to think about some legal issues sometimes. You got to make sure you're free and clear on everything and all that good jazz. But anyways, I think I'm rambling on. I just wanted to talk to you guys about the reality tax. Logistics, man. Logistics. Think about logistics. If you got a business idea, think about your logistics. Write it down. Figure out what all the logistics look like. If you don't know the answer to one of your questions, that's perfect. That's a sign that you need to research. Figure out an answer for that part right there. Oh yeah, I want to create digital products, man. I'm gonna create video courses. Okay, I'm gonna do it, man, and I'm gonna sell them. I'm gonna sell them on Gumroad. Okay, cool. How are you gonna get traffic? Like, how are you gonna get people to care about that? Like, oh well, Gumroad has organic traffic. I'm gonna rely on their organic traffic. Okay, cool. Fill it in. We'll see how it goes. And then like you fill in all the blanks. You got your exploding diagram, and you launch the sucker, and you see how it goes. And if it doesn't go well, you figure out why isn't it working? Are you not getting any traffic to your sales page? Well, you know what you got a problem with. Gumroad's organic traffic is not panning out for you. You need to find another traffic source. you know Spoiler alert, the best traffic source is your email list. So put them on a list, then you'll get traffic. So anyways, look, I'm rambling. Hope you guys are doing amazing out there on this fine Tuesday evening. I need to go take my trash out. So that's all I got. Listen, I wanted to remind you, if you've gotten value out of this live stream, make sure you get over to epicconversions.com. I have exactly one product on the market right now, just one. It's called Epic Conversions Monthly. Okay. And you can go to epicconversions.com, scroll down, find a link to that, and check it out if you want to. This is a warm invitation. I'd be happy to see you inside there. So that's all I got. Have a great one, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another one. Peace now.